you went under the wheel.
As usual, I'm interested in what you've been watching as well. So I figure this will just be a generic sort of like, what have you been watching kind of catch-up episode.
Okay. We can call it, trying to watch the Eternals or
something. Gabe's eternal struggle.
Exactly.
All right. By the way, the new Cowboy Bebop series is on Netflix.
I know. I've seen the reviews. Apparently, it's a steaming pile of dog shit, which anyone with a brain could have predicted.
I've heard mixed reactions. I've heard
mixed?
Some people who are like, yeah, it's pretty good. And well,
who?
I like, casuals and normies, like, no, what? There have been some fans of it who have, I know one guy wrote his like mini review. He's like, things I liked. John Cho wasn't as bad as I thought. In fact, he was pretty good. The guy who plays as Jet is pretty good. And then he's like, yeah, the guy they got as Sid Vicious is horrible. And I was watching a little bit of it because Aaliyah's brother's a big fan of Cowboy Bebop.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to a fight scene, and the fight scene was like completely locked down on tripods. And I was like,
oh,
I was like, it looked like stiff combat. And I was
That's
like,
so
dude,
bad. Especially because the show like reinvented how you animate action scenes.
Yep, they put in like a handheld camera on animation, which completely, like, to me at least, completely revolutionized the way that fight scenes look. Like everything that was kind of cool about the fight scene, I realized later was the fact that like the camera was super fluid, which made up for some of the like animation deficiencies or like animating on twos or whatever.
Yeah,
in the fight scenes.
Well, I mean, Netflix's track record with these anime things is pretty awful. And it's like, it's so weird because they try to jump the gun a little bit by like putting in like really, really, really diverse casting so that like people will overlook that the fact that the show is written, directed, and produced by like, two monkeys and a typewriter. So I'm just waiting for like their Neon Genesis Evangelion adaptation that tries to somehow simplify the show, and in doing so makes it even more confusing with like Jamie Foxx as Shinji Ikari.
You haven't seen any of the the new Spider-Man movies, have you?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So in Infinity War, Ned Leeds is played by I can't think of his first name, but his last name is Balaton. He's like a Filipino guy. He's like kind of heavy set, but apparently he like lost a bunch of weight, and I'm like, that's who they're gonna get to play the main character in Evangelion.
That's gonna be Shinji.
Yeah, it's gonna be Shinji. But he's like lost all of his weight and is super ripped now.
The thing that's weird is like all the characters in Cowboy Bebop are like very racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
So you can kind of cast them however you want, but it would be so weird if they tried to do that with Evangelion, where everyone is like very clearly Japanese.
It's just like when they did Ghost in the Shell, and like the major she has like it's like a major
Makoto Kusanagi is Scarlett Johansson.
And they just completely whitewash her and change her name and everything. It's just like,
I know.
Major like Marjorie something. Like, why did you guys even do this? Oh, the Ghost in the Shell movie. So the funny thing is, like, I'm watching one of the episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and they're like, and Jet is like, do I look pale to you? And Spike's like, you always look pale. Meanwhile, in the show, they cast a black dude to play as Jet. It's like, there you go. All right, there you go.
I was gonna say, it's like, yeah, you're so pale, you look like the anime Jet.
It made me think about whiteface and blackface again, and I was like, the eternal struggle. I'll also say, like, the lighting in the like 20 seconds I watched of it, the lighting was pretty interesting, but yeah.
Interesting good or interesting bad or just
it was
interesting.
Like, I liked it. It was kind of cartoonish, and it was super like, I mean, it was you're pretty standard like purple and pink going against each other.
Yeah.
But like but you know, it didn't look like garbage or a soap opera. So I was kind of like, all right, at least they were using their lighting interestingly. They're not like, you know, they're not maybe using it as interestingly as, you know, some feature films, but it's definitely playing up the idea of like, this is a hyper stylized world. And I was like, okay, that's, yeah, you know, it's like the Sin City kind of hyper stylized color, but not not that like where it's like black and white.
I mean, what's
like,
weird is
color-wise.
like I'm sure they have to. They're making this super stylized for just because they feel like they have to. But the anime itself is very stylish, but it's not very stylized. It's just a cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, they have fun with different angle variety, and I think a lot of people just look at the song.
I heard that it's all just like this, and the adaptation is all just like bright colors, Dutch angles, and like horrendous green screen.
I mean, like there's definitely but see, when you put it that way, and even if you saw the song, because they released the song early, the intro song, and it was like, you know, trying to be shot for shot, I was just like, this looks just like Sin City though. Like this thing's
that's so bad.
15
that
years
sounds
too
so
late.
Terrible.
It looks just like Sin City, to the point of like the smoke that Spike was like the smoke that was coming out of Spike's cigarette were all like
have you
had
seen
like a hand outline around them.
Oh, have you seen Frank Miller's adaptation of The Spirit?
Yeah, I did.
Is the Netflix Cowboy Bebop better or worse?
It's probably better. I haven't watched any of it, so like the brief snippet I saw was like.
Is the snippet of you saw better or worse?
Yeah, the snippet I saw was better.
Okay.
I mean, the only
I
thing
saw about 5 minutes of The Spirit, directed by Frank Miller, and it is.
It's so goofy. Like that's the thing is like the Spirit.
I don't have words to describe how bad it is.
Like I sat down and watched it, and I was like, I thought it was fine. Like it was probably mediocre, but I didn't absolutely hate it. Like, then again, I'm looking back on it, and I'm like, I'm just like, it's trash.
I just remember the Spirit is like jumping across rooftops, and he's growling this internal like monologue about how he has like an Oedipal sexual relationship with the city that he lives in. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. What does this mean, Frank Miller?
It's because Frank Miller started sucking at writing after like 1995. Arguably before that. You could make an argument that he was never great at it, and he kind of peaked with his stuff on Daredevil, and he just kind of like made everyone think that The Dark Knight Rises or the Dark Knight Returns was good. Because I've never been able to get through The Dark Knight Returns.
I still enjoy The Dark Knight Returns. I think that Elektra Assassin is also really good.
That's right. You love Elektra Assassin. You love it because of Sienkiewicz, though.
It mainly because of Bill Sienkiewicz, yes, but it's still really good. And it's part of Frank Miller's Daredevil oeuvre, which is that if there's one thing that's kind of got his. If there's a signature Frank Miller thing, it's Daredevil, Yeah. But yeah, like I've heard from a lot of people who've read Sin City that like none of the Sin City books are actually good. They're just like kind of cool to look at.
They're cool to look at
sometimes.
Yeah. The best one is like the first one is really good, and then the second one, his line work got really sloppy like halfway through, especially near the end. The Yellow Bastard is good to look at all the way through, and then let's see what else. Because I bought all of them and I read all of them, and I really well. The last one that he did, like Hell and Back, was pretty good, and there's like an extended scene where the guy's tripping on drugs, and it's pretty funny, but like, and the main character is a lot more morally
acceptable.
Yeah. Like he's a pretty good guy, and like his goal is like, like this girl that he met and kind of fell in love with gets trapped in the underpinnings of the Sin City sex trafficking, and he has to go and rescue her.
Okay.
And he calls in his military buddies while he's like super tripping, and it's I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of that stuff. Like Frank Miller's crazy 90s period to 2000s was like, I was absolutely fine with it. And then he started, after he became like a director and everything, he started going off the deep end. But I contend that The Spirit is intended to be more comedic than anything.
God, I hope so.
That's the only thing I can think of. Samuel L. Jackson is like, don't forget Samuel L. Jackson and Scarlett Johansson were in that movie. But Samuel L. Jackson is just having like the best time ever, being so over the top. But if you're a fan of The Spirit, I can understand why you would absolutely hate that movie.
I mean, I've never read a single Will Eisner comic and don't understand why he's so important. But I do know that The Spirit movie is one of the worst things I've ever seen 5 minutes of.
Will Eisner is famous because he brought to people's attention the idea of the importance of like sequential art and reading between the panels, and started the academic talk of comics as more than just trash for people to throw around.
So he's the Andre Breton of comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like the precursor. He's the one who started. He's like the D.W. Griffith of American comic books. No,
I meant
he's
Robert Bresson, not
Robert
Breton.
Bresson. Yeah,
Breton's the surrealist guy. Bresson is like the editing guy.
Yeah. Let's see. Aesthetic approach, notably the art of cinema, ellipses, sparse use. Yeah, he's probably closer to Bresson than anyone else, just because of his...
Luc Besson? Oh, I'm really a big fan of Luc Besson's A Man Escaped.
The art of editing in Lucy was where I realized the true power.
The power of aesthetic minimalism in Valerian.
Valerian.
She went under the wheels. How? Affected.
Welcome to Under the Wheels. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Gabe.
And in today's episode, I have no idea what we're doing. We're just going to talk about stuff.
We're going to talk about the Eternals because you saw it and I tried to see it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm actually really curious about what happened. So the Eternals obviously is like, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on around the Eternals. Have you been following
it's a really
any of it?
big like discussion topic in the news, and at least on my Yahoo feed, which I don't know because I'm not like curating it that way. I'm not trying to curate it that way, but it seems to be happening. But yeah, like, what do you think of the Eternals?
I liked it. I would say it's probably like this is going to be like the most boring year ever. Cuz I think it's like a witness for me. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed so how far into the movie did you get before you left?
Oh. So, well, okay.
I'll justify my rating in a second, but I want to see how far you got in it.
I went to go see it, and I think I got to where Salma Hayek is found not alive, presumably. I don't know if she comes back at the end of the movie or anything, but she's dead at a certain point. Like, kind of towards the beginning, but, like, still a little ways in.
Yeah, that's like 20 minutes in.
Okay. Well, that 20 minutes was an hour for me, okay?
It might have
for
been
various
an hour
reasons.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I sit down to watch the movie, and it starts with like they're in outer space and they're looking at Earth, and Rob Stark turns to Gemma Chan, I think, is the actress, and his mouth starts moving, but no words come out. And I'm thinking, this is an interesting aesthetic choice.
Chloe Zhao, that's a way to go.
That like this is already like very avant-garde compared to most Marvel movies. They talk but don't speak. And then they land on Earth, and you can hear everyone. And I'm like, wait a minute. So then it goes to the present day, and Gemma-chan is now with Jon Snow for some reason instead of Robb Stark. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I can tell visually that like they connected the two sequences through that dagger and stuff. And then Gemma-chan's walking around wherever she is. I'm guessing London or somewhere in England. And she's talking, and I can hear what she says. I'm like, that's weird. I wonder why they didn't have dialogue before. And then later, she's at like a nightclub with Jon Snow and some other people, and she gives him a birthday present. And then while Jon Snow is talking to her, like mid-sentence, all his dialogue drops away. So all you hear is the background noise of the nightclub. And then they're moving their mouths, but there's like no words coming out. And I'm like, oh, this is not an intentional aesthetic choice. The projector's broken. So I was in a theater with two other people.
Oh
and
my
one
God.
of them goes down and talks to the manager. So, God, like a whole bunch of stuff happens. Like they get attacked by a big monster.
Yeah.
And then Robb Stark appears again and shoots it with laser beams. And I have no idea what's happening because you can't hear anything anyone's saying. Like the dialogue just keeps popping in and out. And the manager's like, oh yeah, the projector's not working. We'll reboot it. So they reboot it, takes 15 minutes, comes back, still isn't working. I go out again, and I'm like, it's still not working. And they're like, well, we're trying. We're going through IT and contacting the manufacturer and stuff. And there's this whole extended flashback to where they're in Mesopotamia, and a guy builds a steam engine for some reason. And they're like, Gilgamesh, who's one of the Eternals, but there's many, many more, fought a bull outside the gates of Babylon. And everyone's like, wow, that makes for a cool story. And then one of the guys is like, wait, why am I not part of this? I'm cool. I have finger guns. And there's a whole bunch of things that I can't hear, but then there's like a deaf lady who signs everything. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I can understand someone in this. And then there's like a romance that I completely missed because I couldn't hear anything. And then everything just shut down. And the manager was like, it's not working. And I'm like, okay, I'd like a refund, please. And that was the Eternals.
And that is the Eternals. So
and then Salma Hayek was dead, and that's when they rebooted it the second time. It's like, oh no, Salma Hayek's dead. Then all of the sound dropped out, not just the dialogue, but the background noise too. And then the screen went black and the lights came on.
Was this at a theater chain?
Yeah.
Was it at AMC?
No. So this is the thing. I don't know why, but I never remember, like as a kid, film projectors having these issues. But in the last 3 years, I've had a couple instances where the digital projection went to absolute shit. Like it happened with the Eternals. It happened the first time I watched The Lighthouse.
Yeah, that's right.
And interestingly, these happen at Regal theaters. So it's like AMCs are dirty and smell like piss, but the Regal theaters, despite being clean, are prone to breaking down, it seems.
Yeah, I've always had better experiences at AMC's than at Regal. So that's to an extent because I saw a movie last night and I was waiting in line. I know it's petty, but I pay for the A-list pass. I pay for my privilege, and I was waiting in line and just completely ignored. And I was like, "This sucks. You're not going to get my."
I don't know what that means. Back in my day, you bought a ticket and you went in and you sat down.
I
That's it.
I was waiting in line for concessions because I like to support the local theater, but the local theater is a piece of shit now. So
I ain't supporting no theater with no sound. That's for damn sure.
I was just like, you will not get my $7 for a soda, you vile heathens, but I will continue to watch movies at your theater because I apparently have no standards.
The best part
Anyway.
is like how the dialogue would disappear at like the worst possible times. So, you know, the monster that attacks our heroes in modern day London is like similar to the monsters they fought in ancient times, the deviants. And they're like, "Oh, the deviants are supposed to be extinct. We like genocided them or whatever."
Right.
And then like Gemma Chan's like, the deviant healed itself. That's never happened before. And then Brian Tyree Henry walks in, and his mouth is moving, and he can't hear anything.
So, how much of the movie do you want me to spoil?
Just spoil the whole thing. I mean, it's
Okay.
I'm so angry about this. I'm not gonna go see it again. I'll use my refund to watch like Last Night in Soho.
Oh my god, I still haven't seen it, and I think it's going to be out of theaters soon. Although I heard mixed things about that one too. So, but yeah, The Eternals. It's like I think I like it for all of the things that if I watched Nomadland, I'd probably like Nomadland about. Like I love all of the, as Hideo Kojima noted, he's like, all of the cameras are like shot into the sun, and they all have harsh shadows, and everyone's backlit. And I'm like, yeah, it's a choice. Like the whole movie takes place at Magic Hour. You know why? Because it's magical. But like I like all that stuff. I like the way that the fight scenes were constructed because they were kind of done differently. Even though the digital doubles, especially for Richard Madden, for Icarus, I guess you would say, is really bad. Like it's really bad. So the basic concept is the Eternals are sent to a world to wipe them out of deviants and then not interfere with the population so that the population can grow and advance. And it's kind of like the Prime Directive, but they find out that they are allowing the human race to grow and learn and be good and not interfere because this is the natural way they should grow, which I have gripes with. But anyway, this is the natural way they should grow. We should not interfere with them so that they can reach a certain population mass where they're distributing enough energy so that a celestial can be born. What is a celestial? Well, a celestial is like, it's not important, right? Like in the grand scheme of things.
They're like, it's like Galactus and the big red guy. They're like the gods of this universe.
Yes, the celestial I have the Wikipedia article set up just so I can remember things. The celestial Arishem grows. I had to take a massive piss when there was a huge plot dump. So there's a whole part where
the plot wasn't the only thing taking a dump. Am I right, guys?
Actually, there's a funny story about that on the Eternals as well.
Oh God.
So apparently, I guess I haven't seen Nomadland, but apparently like Frances McDormand like takes a shit inside a bucket at one point. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she's acting, but yes.
Right. Well, I mean, is she? It is a Chloe Zhao movie. The line between reality and fantasy is blurred. But basically at the end of the movie, like right when they're wrapping everything up, I was just like, nope, I can't hold it. Ran to the bathroom, had to take a massive shit. So yeah, there's a huge chunk there that I was just like, what happened? And they're like, this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then afterwards I'm like, wait, that was a lot of things that happened. But so what's her name dies. Salma Ageless Hayek dies. And the thing that like gives her power to like maneuver everything and talk with the Celestials is given to Cersei, who's I say Gemma Chan, but Gemma Chan. And so then they're like, okay, well, we need to assemble the gang together. So they go around and assemble the gang. And you learn that Thena, played by Angelina Jolie, is having these like PTSD style mental breaks. And the only person who can kind of control her is Gilgamesh. And you find out that Kingo is a Bollywood star who just pretends to be his great ancestors, so that way he can like live forever and be rich, but also like make sequels to movies that he wants to star in, which again is intriguing. You find out that Barry Keoghan is a terrible actor, and he's a shitty character, but of course they make him redeemable. I hated him in this movie. I wanted to like rip him apart. Brian Tyree Henry is the Iron Man of the group. He invents stuff, and that's what makes him a lot of fun, because like the problem they ran into with Tony Stark was like, oh well, he has to be in a suit, and in this they're like, we're just gonna make him invent weird shit and have fun, and so that's fun.
Guys, I built a steam engine. Why?
These assholes don't know how to use steam. They don't even know what boiling water is. Fine. I call it a hoe. What does it do? It fucks men for money. I mean, it hoes.
I mean, it digs ground up so you can plant things.
He seemed like he was having fun there. Oh, and his character is gay. He invents the atom bomb, hates humanity, and then finds love. So that was actually a really powerful moment when he's like, I turned my back on humanity, and it does a flashback of him just like sitting in the middle of Hiroshima, and like oh
my god, and
Salma Hayek like walks over and he's like, what the fuck? Yeah. So they have like all of these like nice little moments. So they're what's his name? Barry Keoghan has the power to manipulate people, so of course he creates his own cult. And that's where one of the better fight scenes happen, because that's when like the deviants attack and like it looks like Icarus is gonna lose, and you're like, oh my god, is Superman gonna die? And so yeah, the whole purpose of them populating the planet is so that they can bear a celestial. So then half of the Eternals are like, well, what if we fight back? What if we can use the mind control ability to put the celestial back to sleep? And they're like, oh yeah, we can do this. And everyone's kind of playing along with it. And then it's revealed that Superman is a bad guy, actually. And that the deviants aren't dead because they were frozen in Alaska. And in the North Pole. And so when the polar ice cap started melting, the deviants were awakened. But there's one super deviant who can absorb the powers of the Celestial. Basically, he's Super Skrull. So Robb Stark pulls a Tyrion Lannister and throws Salma Hayek off the cliff so that the deviants can absorb her abilities. And then they go on this wild goose chase so that Superman can kill all of the other deviants and have the Celestial come to be. And then there's a big fight, and Gemma Chan realizes that, in fact, she is the one who can change the makeup of the Celestial, because her power is to turn inanimate objects into different things. But then she learns she can turn animate objects into things. So she freezes the Celestial. Icarus flies into the sun literally and dies. The little sprite girl becomes human because she really wanted to be human after all. And Kit Harington has nothing to do in this movie. So he just randomly calls and he's like, hey, how are you?
He has nothing to do but mouth breathe.
Pretty much. It's like I remember in the trailer, there was that one scene where it's like, where were you guys when Thanos attacked? And then in the movie, he's like, hey, I just have a quick question. Like, what were you doing when Thanos attacked? I was like, oh, so this guy is not, in fact, dramatic at all. He's just kind of there. So anyway, all that happens. They freeze the Celestial. And then for some reason, three of the Celestials get called in front of three of the Eternals get called in front of Arishem. The other three are just floating in space. And then all of a sudden, Eros, played by what's his name, the singer, appears, and he's like, I'm the brother of Thanos. The guy who was also in Dunkirk.
Oh, yeah. Harry Styles.
Harry Styles. He appears, and he's like, hey, guys. And then in the second post-credit sequence, it's revealed that Kit Harington is the Black Knight, and then you hear a voice, and I think it's the voice of Mahershala Ali, so he's going to tie into the Blade movie.
What?
And, yeah.
Sorry, I have no idea what like anything you just said. So
here's the thing that like the plot in the Eternals is ridiculous. Like it's so over the top and it's kind of like a band getting back together story. But
yes,
the way it's shot and the way the action scenes work and like the fact that the Eternals are basically kind of like the Justice League because like you have Thena who's kind of like Wonder Woman and you have Gilgamesh who's really strong and you've got Kingo who has finger guns, which is cool, and you have Icarus who's basically Superman without ice breath. Like that stuff I liked because it was like, okay, this is kind of more fun than just like run-of-the-mill superheroes. It's like I like the fact that they pull different aspects from like DC comics and other things to like kind of have fun with these heroes. And like watching Richard Madden like zip around as Superman was fun, especially when he turns bad because it's like, oh, this is good because apparently
it's what Zack Snyder's always wanted.
It's what Zack Snyder always wanted to do and failed to accomplish. So that's fun and yeah, I think the cinematography is pretty good because I like the way that a lot of it's staged. I like the way that they set up sort of the emotional stakes of the movie, even though I don't know why they're like, oh, but humans, they're so great. And I'm like, really? Are humans great? Like, are they really? They're better than every other like species in the Marvel universe? I don't believe that. Not for a second, but
they're legally obligated to because humans made the movie.
Yeah, they're like, talk about freaking species centrism. I'm like, no, we're not. Like that was the thing that got me is they're like, oh, humans are so good and we need them to evolve in their normal way and come to these conclusions. And I'm like, you guys really aren't going to stop any of sort of like the horrible things with like slavery and colonization and like destroying civilizations, the caste system. Like you're just cool with all of this shit happening and gonna say it's for the greater good while like billions of poor people die that could easily be saved. No, fuck you guys. Fuck you, Eternals. So yeah, to say that there's a little bit of weird messaging in the movie is kind of an understatement.
Oh, now one thing that always annoys me about these like eternal, immortal superhero stories is the like everyone in the present day is like very been there, done that about everything. And they're like, oh, I've been around the world. I've seen it all, man. I was there. Like freaking like the Brian Tyree Henry's character, like he invents a steam engine in Mesopotamia when it makes like no sense for anyone to have one or know what that is. And it's
right.
like, I built a steam engine, guys. And it's like, why? What are they going to do with this? They barely can like wipe their own asses. And you're going to drop this on them. Or like he made the atomic bomb, or he was at Hiroshima. He's like, I turned my back on humanity a long time ago. I don't know. That stuff just irritates me so much. It makes me think of the old guard when she's trying baklava and she's like, oh, let me guess. It's from... And then like names like some obscure part of like Turkey, and it's like, fuck you, fuck whoever wrote this.
It's from the gullet of Turkey.
It's from the gullet of a turkey.
Exactly. It's like, oh,
there
that's
was a turkey in Greece. He ate some guy's baklava, shit it out, and that's what I gave you.
You know what's funny is like I know we talk a lot of shit about the old guard
because it's terrible and it deserves it.
It's not that bad. Okay,
it is 100% that bad.
It's not that bad. There's a lot of other shit that comes out that's a lot worse that people go and see. Now with that said,
okay, Halloween Kills aside, the old guard is that bad.
Oh, who was it? There was someone in the old guard that was in another movie we were talking about. That like you were like, oh yeah, no, he's in the old guard, but no, there's a lot of like shit movies that come out, and like the old guard was not nearly as bad as some of those shit movies that come out. None of which I can think about right now.
You gave a very interesting and barely coherent plot synopsis of the Eternals. But what is the Eternals about? Like, what is it trying to achieve?
I think one of the reasons, like, I think it's trying to come to a sort of rocky conclusion of like, we shouldn't kill every ant we find because maybe there is some significance and resilience to them.
It's about being vegan?
What is it about? It is about how Richard Madden is awesome, and even though he was the bad guy, I still really loved him.
That's fair.
It was about Kingo shooting finger guns in a Marvel movie. they're paying millions and millions of dollars for Kumail Nanjiani to shoot finger guns and do Hadokens at bad guys. It's probably about like faith in humanity, and I don't even know what it's about.
You know what I realized?
To be fair, I watched this movie like 17 days ago, and I've watched a lot of crap since then.
Yeah.
The music is awesome, though.
Okay. The plot is eerily similar to Transformers.
Oh.
Well, it's like two diametrically opposed races of aliens collide on Earth, and neither of them has any reason to give a shit about humanity, but they do for some reason. And then the Autobots, the Eternals are like what, why do we care? And then I guess Gemma Chan is like, humans are more than meets the eye. Autobots, roll out. Or Eternals, roll out. Right. That's kind of how it sounds to me. What do you think of it technically? I think when I saw it, what you were mentioning about the golden hour, I kind of am recalling now.
One thing about the movie, well, technically I really liked it. Again, I think some of the CG, it goes back and forth because there's like the CG elements of like the digital doubles look like crap. And then there's parts of the fight scenes where it's like trying to be sort of, it's like if I imagine if Chloe Zhao shot a fight scene, she wanted it to look like that, where it's like the camera isn't always in impossible locations. It's like it's grounded, or like they have that moment where the deviant is like on top of Richard Madden because, why wouldn't you want to be? And he's trying to shoot his laser eye beams at it, and he's failing to do so. And it's like, that's really awesome because like the camera's really close, and like it's like The Revenant. A lot of the fight scenes were like The Revenant, and I was like, all right, I'm down with that. Like it's cool because it's different, and I like the fact that it takes on like sort of this different feel than other Marvel movies, because it doesn't really feel like any other Marvel movie in that sense. Like it actively tries to go against feeling like it's part of a cohesive world. Because if you've seen those trailers for Spider-Man No Way Home, it looks like I'm watching those trailers and I'm like, this looks like a course correction. This looks like a return to normalcy. Like the lighting is very standard. The computer generated effects are what we expect. The humor, the goofy kind of humor is there. Oh, Alfred Molina.
Yeah, well, I will say what I did see of the Eternals, it's definitely a lot more colorful, and the lighting is a lot more dynamic than in other Marvel movies, where everything does tend to have a very flat presentation.
And it feels epic. It feels like it's earned sort of an epic status because it does cover all of this time in history, and it does jump back and forth. And so I appreciate it for that, because it's just like every time it jumps back and forth, it helps to build on what they're doing and what's going on with it. And like all of the characters are clearly very diverse, not just in like the way that they're cast, but in the way that they have attitudes and stuff. And there's some kind of like goofy, schlocky things, like Gilgamesh dresses up and like cooks for everyone. So he wears like kind of an effeminate apron while he's cooking for everyone. And So it's like, okay, they're, it feels. She said she was inspired by manga, and I was just like specifically looking for all parts that were like, this is an anime, and I'm like, okay, well, Kingo's finger guns, got it. Like some of the fight scenes, and then like Gilgamesh being goofy and like over the top, because they always have like the really large anime character who's also like doing what's
a comedian.
Yeah, or like what's generally perceived to be sort of like feminine roles and stuff.
Oh yeah, they're yeah, they take on roles that are not like gender conforming.
Right. And then I forgot to tell you that Kingo has this one dude who's like followed him around since like he was born and is like his personal assistant. And so like they're jet setting around the world, and he's like recording like a documentary about Kingo's life and stuff. And he's like, yes, and these are the Eternals. And like, of course, they're trying to keep everything a secret and keep it on the down low. But like Kumail Nanjiani doesn't give a fuck. And he's just like, yeah. And this is Icarus. Is Icarus and Cersei, are they going to get back together? Who knows? And all of this like really goofy stuff. So it's like it has a good balance to me. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I wanted to see it again because of all the stuff I missed. But I'll also say, like, if the first hour wasn't working for you, then there's a good chance the rest of the movie would just get too convoluted and spiral out of control.
The first hour that it turns out was only 20 minutes, apparently.
Well, maybe 40 minutes.
Maybe 40. Okay.
Because I forget how long that opening is, where they're like, they come down and like, they're like, we are here to protect everyone, and then take on the deviants, and like the cavemen are like, they're like, where's the monolith? And you're like, okay, well, or the... Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I would probably eventually want to see the whole way through. I'm just still pissed about the wasting my time on Saturday. So, yeah, just gonna let it go for now, focus on other things, and then come back around to it.
Yeah, I have this feeling you're gonna go and see it and be like, what the fuck was Matthew talking about? This is a fucking steaming pile of shit. But I liked it. Granted, now I'm looking back on some of the parts and I'm like, do I really want to sit through that again? There's this one moment near the end where it's like, where they're all kind of like drawing their battle lines, and like Icarus has already left, and the little girl who can transform has already left, because they're like, no, we're gonna make sure that this celestial gets born, and like they're all staring at Kumail Nanjiani, and he's like, look, I'm out. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm out. I honestly agree with Icarus. Like, this thing is important. This thing is bigger than the world. We need these celestials to come about because they create new life, new worlds for everyone. And to be fair, like, the human race is just fuel. They're just fuel for this world. I agree with him, even though I don't agree with the fact that he's basically been killing all of us. And so for the last quarter of the movie, he's just not in it. I'm like, what the fuck?
What?
Yeah, he's just not in it. And so it's like they don't really have they have the speedster who's the fighter. And so it's like the speedster and Brian Tyree Henry who are trying to lock down Icarus while Gemma Chan's trying to freeze the Eternal and stuff. But oh yeah, and of course, Angelina Jolie, kicks ass as usual, as is her
MO. Her digital double kicks ass as it does.
Yeah, it's nice to see Angelina Jolie in action movies again, though. It's like, it's fun. It's like, welcome.
It's been
back.
a while too.
Yeah, it has. Well, she was also in that one. She was in a movie earlier this year that was it was the dual release on HBO Max. It's like those.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't it directed by like Taylor Sheridan?
Yeah, it was directed by Taylor Sheridan. I didn't see it. I should go back and watch it because it's on HBO Max again. But like, okay. But it's fun. It's fun seeing her as like, I'm clearly superior to all of you, but also I kick a lot of ass, so it's very well earned. And also I'm going to give an inspirational speech to you at the end of the movie, and it's going to be nice because, Angelina Jolie's not a terrible actor. She's like pretty good, so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I like it. I like it for its cast, even if I can't tell you what it means. I like it for its cast. I like the visual effects. Well, I like the cinematography. I like the music. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was good.
It's a Witness?
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace. It's a Witness for me. And I saw you saw The French Dispatch.
Yeah, I did.
I did read your review.
You did or did not?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did. Go ahead.
I really liked it. I think it's been getting a lot of mixed reviews and stuff. And I know a lot of people find Wes Anderson super annoying. I don't. So I really liked The French Dispatch.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue it has is that, like, so the movie is set up as this big framing device where there's this fictional magazine called The French Dispatch of the such and such Kansas Evening Sun, and the founder of the magazine has died, and because he has died, this is going to be their last issue that they ever produce. So it's basically like you read through the issue, but each article is its own little movie. And there's nothing tying anything together besides that fact, really.
Yeah.
Just that, like, that general conceit, and then, that all these stories take place generally in the same town. So it's like the movie does feel really disjointed in that sense, because there is no, like, real... I should say there's no solid connection between any of the stories other than the framing device, because, like, there's no, like, thematic or a meta narrative that links them all. The reason I say kind of, or that there isn't a strong one, is that, the three main there's what I want to say 4 shorts in it. So one is a quick travelogue where Owen Wilson takes you on a tour of the city in a very Wes Anderson-y sort of way, and it's fun and it's funny. And then there's 3, like, sort of larger stories, and the first one is Benicio del Toro is in prison for murder, and he's also he's a well-trained artist from a wealthy family who's also just a raving lunatic. But he falls in love with one of the prison guards and ends up painting a series of, like, experimental portraits about her. And they become, like, iconic in the art world. And the article, quote unquote, is written by Tilda Swinton. So she serves as the narrator.
Okay.
And she's giving, like, a lecture at a museum about the paintings, like the museum where the paintings are held, because she ended up being, like, the acquisition agent for them. The second story is about Timothée Chalamet starting a student revolution on a university campus. And it's being covered by Frances McDormand, who is basically a an undercover investigative journalist who is really bad at maintaining any sort of distance from what's going on. And then the third story is about a talented writer who's a food critic for the magazine, played by Jeffrey Wright, who goes to the police station of this town to enjoy a multi-course meal prepared by the police station chef, who's world-renowned. And during the dinner, the police chief's son is kidnapped, so they have to, like, it's like a mix of food criticism and a hostage negotiation. But the thing with the 3 main stories, excluding Owen Wilson's little piece at the beginning, is that they're all about art in some way, and how it can enhance or transform the world, which I thought was kind of neat. And that is, like, the only thematic connection between any of them, because so obviously Wes Anderson has this really deep repertoire of cinematic techniques that are what they are, and just people love them or hate them. But, like, a lot of the classic ones are, like, the knolling, which is where you have, like, objects arranged geometrically on a table or on a board or on a flat surface. Flat space camera movements where the camera doesn't move forward or backward; it only moves up, down, left, and right.
Right.
Or when it does move forward and backward, it's the snap zoom. There is the like slow motion music montage, which actually is not in the movie. It's one of the only movies of his I've seen that doesn't have one. And also like lots of attention paid to like typography and like little very specific set decoration. The color palettes for each shot tend to be very limited, even if in the movie he's using every color imaginable. Mm-hmm. So like there's one shot where everything's kind of one, like just shades of pink or shades of yellow or shades of this or that.
Right. Yeah, his use of pastel colors and stuff in movies.
Well, it's also just like for a particular shot, he will limit the color palette of what you can see, you know?
Right.
So it's like in this area, everything is kind of one color, and then in a different area, everything's another color. There's a lot of black and white photography in the movie, which it looks pretty good, but in like a very Wes Anderson sort of way. And it's also like everything's kind of that mix of like very, very ironic, very melancholic stories that have like a good bit of humor, but are also like kind of sincere at parts. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting was that so everything that is present day or a flashback is filmed in color. And then everything that's part of the articles, quote unquote, is in black and white. Except certain moments where it's suddenly in color for like one shot or two shots. And those moments where it's suddenly in color is usually when someone witnesses a piece of art that or experiences like a moment of, I guess, like beauty that kind of transcends whatever is going on around them. So like in the first story was my favorite, the one with Benicio del Toro as the painter.
Right.
So it's like any time that people, like there's a couple shots where people look at the paintings for the first time and those are in color, but everything else is in black and white.
Okay.
The second story with Timothée Chalamet, which is more about like the power of language, because it's about like the whole story is like there's this student revolution. They don't really know what they're revolting against, or why, but they just are doing it. And he's trying to write a manifesto, and he can't figure out what the hell he wants to write, and no one else agrees with him on anything that he says. But it's like anytime there's a moment of like intense like passion or debate or discussion or love, it is in color. And then in the last one with the cook and the hostage situation, all the food is in color. Or most of the food is in color, I should say. Not all of it. Not always, but a lot of it is. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. It is a little all over the place, but I like Wes Anderson's movies. It's got everything there is to like about Wes Anderson cranked up to 11.
So what's holding it back for you? What do you think's holding it back?
It's just kind of disjointed. It doesn't tie together super well.
Okay.
Like it's it's like less than the sum of its parts. All these little discrete pieces are excellent, but when you add it all up, it's like this would have made a great web series or something. You know?
Yeah. Or released directly to Netflix as 3 separate episodes, all tied together with Owen Wilson.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's weird too because it helps to see it on the big screen because a lot of the time the frame is so packed with like very minute details or things are shot from so far away that you benefit from seeing it on this massive screen where you can notice all these little details as opposed to on your TV where you might miss them. Like like after the first story is done, the one with Benicio del Toro, the editor of the magazine, played by Bill Murray, is reviewing the article with Tilda Swinton. And they're in the background in a room, and then the camera's placed on the other side of a doorway. So you have like various like depths of field.
Yeah.
So you have the doorway and like all the furniture and stuff in front of the doorway up close, and then off in the back through the doorway you see Bill Murray and Tilda Swinton going over the article and trying to make any changes. But in the foreground, there's like a stack of books, and all the books are written by people from the story we just watched. So it's like there's a book like the prison guard who was the subject of these paintings, like it's her autobiography. Mm-hmm. There's a book by Tilda Swinton's character on like art theory, and there's like a collection of like essays or something from Benicio del Toro's character, and they're like all just stacked up on each other. And like just there's so many little things like that are just, they're fun and cute, and I like those. The other thing that is really cool about the movie that is a little different from some of Wes Anderson's other stuff is that, I think it was marketed as a quote unquote a love letter to journalism, and I hate when anything is marketed as a love letter to anything, but the movie's more about the written word than it is about journalism. Because, like, the journalism practiced at the French Dispatch is not, like, news reportage. It's like literary nonfiction. Yeah. It's like...
It's not the Associated Press. It's, like... It's more about, like... I read in your review you talk about how it's like
it's not like just the facts, ma'am, news. It's like it's literature. It's like art.
There's some creative liberties taken in order to make some omissions of detail. Creative liberties taken to make it more
it is
appealing
creative nonfiction type of quote unquote journalism. So the whole movie is narrated by various people. So like the overarching movie and framing device is narrated by Angelica Houston, and then each section of the magazine is narrated by the person who wrote it. And these narrations are really, really wordy, but they can be funny sometimes, just in the sense that like they're really good at imitating kind of that style of writing that you come across if you've ever read a magazine like The New Yorker or like McSweeney's or something. Mm-hmm. So that's fun. But what's really cool is that the way that we communicate ideas in writing is baked into the movie itself, or baked into how the movie's structured. So, most like movies tell stories and deliver ideas temporally, like through time,
right?
Because you experience each moment in real time. However, with words, especially the written word, you're communicating ideas in a medium where time has no real place. It's just there. It's always there. The words are on the page. You close the book, the words are still there. You open the book, the words are still there. You can read through them as fast or slow as you like. So really the flow of information becomes not so much about delivering information to you in time, but it's corresponding to a flow of ideas. It's like when you're taught how to write an essay in school, you don't write an essay as first this happened, then this happened. You write an essay as in like, I don't like broccoli, and then you have like your evidence to support why you don't like broccoli, right? Mm-hmm. And then you conclude, taking all these factors together, I don't like broccoli. So it's like it's easier, obviously, if you see the French Dispatch, but if you could think of a movie that is edited in a way that it presents its story like that, where, yes, there is an element of time to it because it is a movie and it does have to correspond to cinematic conventions,
right? To
an extent, otherwise it's incomprehensible. There is a lot of jumping around in time the way you would when you're writing something, because it is also about taking you through the flow of ideas, not just the flow of this happened, then this happened, and this happened. Okay. And I think one of my favorite examples is in the second story with Frances McDormand and Timothée Chalamet. So this student revolution is precipitated when a classmate of Timothée Chalamet's gets drafted and deserts his post. And it's never explained why. It's never explained why he deserts his post to any of the characters in the movie, But Frances McDormand later goes on and researches what happened. But her research and everything is injected in the middle of the scene where he deserts and comes back. So, like, you have the story proper. You have a flashback of what led to the student revolution. In the middle of the flashback, there is another flashback containing Frances McDormand's research into the inciting incident of the flashback that incites this story proper. And it's a weird cinematic construct, but like in a written story, it would make perfect sense. But I thought it was really cool how they kind of are able to imitate the rhythm and the flow of a piece of writing in a movie. And what's hilarious is the flashback that explains why this soldier deserted his post, came back to school, and inspired the student revolution. It's done as like Frances McDormand is saying, like, you know, it was never explained to any of the students what exactly happened that caused him to desert. But later he wrote this play called Farewell Zeffirelli, and Zeffirelli is the name of Timothée Chalamet's character. Right. And in this scene, you know, you could interpret it as such to explain why he deserted his post. And then it cuts to a showing of the play where you watch the scene unfold, and it's like, okay, this is kind of why he left. So yeah, I just like little things like that, structurally I thought were really cool and really just different. Because I know, you know, Wes Anderson does play with time and structure in his movies a bit, but this took it to a whole extreme that he hasn't really done before.
Yeah. Interesting. Did you see Isle of Dogs?
Yep.
Okay. The one thing I'll always remember from that movie is when, like, they have this long sequence of a guy just like making sushi and like cutting the fish, and you can see all the fish's guts, and I'm like, I can't believe you took time to animate all of that stuff. What does that have to do with your review of the French Dispatch? Not much, to be completely fair. But what you're talking about does make me want to watch the movie. So I'll see if I can find a way to watch it. I always, whenever I think of Wes Anderson, I always wonder how he feels about how idiosyncratic his movies are. Like, for example, he's never going to be able to do a really complex tracking shot, like
Children of Men.
Like Children of Men, or like Steven Spielberg has a lot of complex tracking shots, and Scorsese's tracking shots that are complex, because his style and the way he approaches it is so specific to him that there is no like middle ground. You know, and I wonder if
there is actually like 1/3 of a complex tracking shot in the French Dispatch.
Really? Like,
see, the thing that's interesting about Anderson is he has his style, but he'll also break it in a way that is still somehow fitting with his style. There's one shot in the Benicio del Toro story where, like all of Wes Anderson's stuff, everything is flat space composition and flat space camera moves, except for snap zooms. But there's a break. There's like a moment where a character flips out, and it kind of breaks the emotion of the scene. And the shot where he flips out is a handheld tracking shot.
I mean, at least he's trying something new.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just interesting. Like because he seems to lean harder and harder and harder into his own idiosyncrasies as time goes by, but he still adds. He finds ways to add new things to the fold. He throws out old stuff. Like I said, he threw out the walking montages.
Yeah.
And he manages to break his own rules in a way that's very Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like a handful of things that he does where I'm like, okay, you can tell he's a huge fan of like film history or studying films or things like that. I just wonder, like, and again, you put it best. It's like he's leaning further and further into his own style, but I wonder if he leans into it further because people expect it of him. Like, for example, there are, filmmakers who are afraid to try new things. And there are others who are like Darren Aronofsky, when he did The Wrestler, he just kind of abandoned everything he sort of learned about making film from his first 3 movies and went in a completely different style and changed all of his, all of the people he had worked with. So there are people who like try to get away from what they're used to, or Sidney Lumet, like the latter half of his career is very different than the beginning of his career. And then Anderson kind of like double downs on his style because he just knows that that's what people expect from him, and kind of goes further and further into sort of like the sort of like film lover aesthetic. Because I remember the French or the Grand Budapest Hotel. Everyone was like, "Oh, look at how much he's playing with the different aspect ratios and all of this and that." And I was like, "I'm glad someone is, but like, hey, I felt he was playing with it just to like emphasize his own flatness. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, he does really just seem to be removing, at least for the French Dispatch, removing everything that is not stereotypically associated with him. Because like, you go back and watch, Rushmore, and it's a pretty straightforward movie. Like, it's really good, but there's nothing that weird about it. And then from there, it just gets stranger and stranger. And I remember when Darjeeling Limited came out, people were like, "Oh, Wes Anderson's become a parody of himself."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, you have no idea what's about to happen, fellas." Ladies and gentlemen, if you think this is a parody of Wes Anderson, just wait. Wait until the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh God. Yeah, that was the weird time where he was like, it was like the Life Aquatic comes out and people are like, "Well, I like Wes Anderson, but maybe I don't like him as much as I thought." And then Darjeeling Limited came out and everyone was like, "Nope, can't do it. Don't like it." And then like Fantastic Mr. Fox, they were like, "Well, I guess he can't make a live action movie anymore." And then all of a sudden Moonrise Kingdom comes out and they're like, "He's back. Guys, he's back. It's all good."
See, the sad trick of it all is he never went away.
Nope.
He's always been the same.
Down.
It's like I don't. That's the thing I don't get about that. I don't understand any of the discourse around Wes Anderson. Like, I understand people not liking him. Like that, I totally get that. But it's just like the weird, like, he's gone, now he's back. Oh, he's finally figured it out. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, all his movies are fairly consistent quality. Like, they're all good. Some better than others, yeah, but they're all good. Actually, the one I like the least is probably the Grand Budapest Hotel, because it's like almost too self-serious.
Yeah, but it's got Ralph Fiennes in it, and Ralph Fiennes is always the utmost of hilarious in everything he does. Clearly, yeah. I mean, have you like
seen
in Schindler's List?
Yeah.
Oh man, I like how we both went for that one too.
I know.
Low hanging fruit. Yeah, I don't know. I appreciate his aesthetic and his style, and it's always enjoyable to watch. I also noticed that it's kind of like 3D movies where sort of like the effect of being that specific sort of wears off on me, and I'm just kind of like enveloped in the narrative. So if they're like, all of that stuff that like would kind of alienate people, by the time the halfway point comes, I don't necessarily notice it, and I can just kind of
yeah, it's a good point.
A lot more.
I mean, I think the other thing is, like, if you start with like Bottle Rocket or Rushmore and kind of watch his movies through in the order they were made, I don't think anything about his style would bother you. Like, if you didn't like the movie, it was just because you didn't like the movie. It's not necessarily because you don't like Wes Anderson's way of doing business.
Yeah.
Because like it starts off like kind of mild and then just gets more and more and more Wes Anderson-y as it goes. But it eases into it.
Yeah, I'm looking at I know a lot of people after the Royal Tenenbaums, he stopped writing with Owen Wilson, and that was the moment people were like, "Oh, he's jumped the shark. He's no longer good." And I'm looking at some of it, like The Life Aquatic he wrote with Noah Baumbach, and the Darjeeling Limited, he had Roman Coppola and Jason Schwartzman working on that. And so it's like, I think he found a really good writing partner with, Grand Budapest Hotel, screenplay by Wes Anderson, story by Wes Anderson and Hugo Guinness. I thought that Roman Coppola worked on that one too. But I feel like there was like the transition between writers might have changed and thrown people off a little bit. I don't know. I know a lot of the sort of what people would talk about was like, oh, ever since he lost Owen Wilson, his movies have lost that sense of like that limited sense of reality that it was holding on to. And sort of like, I think Moonrise Kingdom was a better reintroduction for most people because it played out more like a fairy tale type of thing or like a storybook. And he's kind of leaned into that feeling. At least he did with Grand Budapest Hotel as well. It felt more like a story. And also had F. Murray Abraham. So that's always, I was like, you get points for just having F. Murray Abraham in it. Because he's not in anything. That's the only reason why the new Robin Hood movie is good.
Dude, he's in Homeland, that terrible, terrible TV show.
Oh my God, is he?
Yeah, he's in it a lot.
Poor F. Murray Abraham. How he's fallen so far.
Him and Mandy Patinkin, two legends of the stage. On screen together.
Oh God, Mandy Patinkin.
In a show that's really not that good.
That's where like Claire Danes, everyone was like, oh, she's a good actress again because of Homeland, and like what's his name, Damian Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah,
it
Homeland.
Made Damian
so
Lewis a star.
I know he should have been a star for life, man. Although I know the fans out there are like, no, Band of Brothers. Like, yeah, fair enough.
Nah, man, it's all about the Forsyte saga.
I don't even know what that is. By the way, the person who shoots Wes Anderson's films, Robert Yeoman, like if you ever look at his filmography,
he's the real deal.
He's all over the place, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's really good. She shot a movie for Robert Downey Sr. But like he got his start as like shooting To Live and Die in LA. What the fuck? And then he worked on Dogma, but yeah, he's been with Wes Anderson and helped to develop his style like the whole way. So it's interesting to see it. He also shot, Ghostbusters, directed by Paul Feig.
I was gonna say he's collaborated, I think, quite a bit with Paul Feig.
He has. He also was the DP on Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yeah.
Those soft palette colors, those soft pastel colors in full force on Mamma Mia.
He's also shot a Wes Craven movie.
Yep. Red Eye. Isn't that the one with Cillian Murphy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Rachel McAdams. It's the romance movie of the decade. Yep. Yeah. And Brian Cox. Brian Cox is in it too. He's great. So back to French Dispatch. So what would you say is your favorite Wes Anderson movie?
It's still the Darjeeling Limited.
Oh, that's right. We've talked about this before. The one that everyone hates.
I don't know why, man. The movie's so good.
I don't know. I hear it's very much about loss and like family and brotherhood and stuff. It's a movie about family.
Well, no, all of his movies are basically about like families trying to resolve their daddy issues.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if there was any more to that.
No, that's it. That's all there is to it. I mean, that's what his movies are about.
Fair enough. So can I change gears quickly?
Yeah.
So the movie I saw last night was Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Ooh. Okay. I just want to say there's I know that the reviews are not great.
For what?
For Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
And there was a headline for a review published by like a real outlet that just said Bustin' just ain't fun anymore. And I thought, Jesus Christ, how many editors did that go through to not catch that? You know, it's just like, wow, man. I don't need to know about your marital problems, okay?
Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. Oh, mastication indeed. Not really mastication.
Mastication?
Yeah.
Chewing?
But yeah. But because it sounds like, masturbating.
Well,
I should probably censor that.
I am so confused.
Yeah, it is. Well, print media. Here's the thing about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Like, here's my quick review. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it while I was watching it. I'm not a huge Ghostbusters fan. Like, the movie that came out in the 80s it's for what it was great. I didn't see it until I was a lot older. I think a lot of like the hardcore, like, I liked one movie in 1985 and it was called Ghostbusters and therefore I like all of Ghostbusters. It's like, since that movie, there's been a sequel and like 5 different cartoon series. And you know what? The Ghostbusters Afterlife, if you watched the trailer and thought it was if Steven Spielberg did a Ghostbusters movie and you're okay with it, then you're going to like it. And if you watch that trailer and you groan the whole time, just skip it. And it's fine. And that's my review of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Nice. Now I know to skip it.
Yeah. Yep. If it is literally, the trailer is a perfect advertisement for a movie, which I have very, very rarely seen. I was like, I went in, 20 minutes passed, and I was like, this feels a lot like a Spielberg kid movie. It feels like E.T. And then by the end of it, I was like, interesting. It's like a Spielberg version of Ghostbusters. So if that makes you cringe, if that's not what you're looking for in a movie, then please skip it. Also, I don't understand why everyone loves Finn Wolfhead. Like, I don't know what this obsession is with this kid and why he keeps getting cast. It's the same with Barry Keoghan. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I think it's pronounced Keegan.
Oh. I don't understand why people keep casting Barry Keoghan. I don't understand why people keep casting Finn Wolfhead.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Someone up there really wants them to succeed.
It's like Taylor Quiche and Armie Hammer all over again.
Taylor Quiche.
Yeah.
It's a pie made of scrambled eggs.
I mean, his face kind of looks like it. So I think I might have told you this, but every time that trailer for just quickly, every time the trailer for Steven Spielberg's West Side Story comes on, and there's that moment where it's like, oh, you're gonna fall for the first gringo you see, and it like cuts to Ansel Elgort's face. I'm like, he looks like a wet fart come to life. What the fuck? Why does this guy have a career? I don't get it. I don't understand. God.
I mean, he's like a normal looking guy. I think it's just in that trailer he has a really funny appearance.
No, he has a really funny appearance in Baby Driver as well. Like, his face is constantly scrunched. Like, I don't know. Apparently I'm drinking from the haterade, Gabe. What else have you been watching lately?
I saw that French movie Titane.
Yeah, what was that about? All of a sudden you were like replying to me about Titane references. I think there was even one in the Dune episode. So what's Titane about? And was it good?
It's about a serial killer who, during her murderous rampage, has sex with a car and gets pregnant. And eventually, when the cops start to catch on to her, she decides to pose as the long-lost son of a firefighter who's addicted to steroids, who's so overcome with grief that he just kind of, and hasn't seen his son in like 17 years or something, that he just kind of accepts this woman as his boy. I mean, she cuts her hair and breaks her nose and does stuff to change her appearance. And then they form like this really weird family where like he's just desperate to have a son, but he's also really like overbearing and controlling because he doesn't want his son to run away again. And then she's freaking out because she feels like a caged animal, but also kind of feels bad for the guy. So it starts off as this like incredibly insane, like batshit murder movie, and then turns into like a family melodrama, all with this weird like car pregnancy body horror thing going on.
What?
Yeah.
Like I get what you're saying. I'm just like, so what drew you to watching this movie?
It won the Golden Palm at Cannes. And it's written and directed by Julia Ducournau, who wrote and directed Raw, which is a very, very good movie. And all the headlines around this were like the movie that's so insane people like passed out, threw up, shit themselves, and died of heart attacks in the theater. And I was like, okay, I like movies that are batshit crazy. This sounds like my kind of jam, and it's got a good pedigree. I like the director. And then I saw it, and it's decent. My problem with it is it's not crazy enough. I don't think it's crazy enough because the second half turns very hard into a family melodrama, and it's very interesting and it's very touching in a bizarre way. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted like more insanity, but that's okay. I mean, she has a right to her artistic vision, and I think she executed well enough on it. But I think the starting off so hot and then cooling off like that doesn't make a great viewing experience, at least for me.
Yeah, because as you were describing it, I was like, this seems like it starts off insane and then gets very sort of like conventional, and that I can see that being like,
it's not conventional, it's just like tame.
Yeah, especially in comparison to like she has sex with a car and becomes pregnant. It's like pregnant with the car baby. Is it gonna be like that one movie that we talked about from that one Japanese director where he's like a cyborg? Is that what's gonna come out of her stomach?
I don't want to spoil it, but
yeah, because I'm gonna watch the. Well, is it worth watching? Like, it seems like it's just sort of okay.
It's like a low witness.
Okay.
Like it's a witness because it's so out there and because it's got so much buzz around it, like you should see it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't love it. I think part of my issue was I came in with like high expectations, and those expectations were not met. Which is how it's my own personal form of self-sabotage, where I will get really excited for a movie and the movie's not as amazing as I want it to be. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that would be a hard sell for me. Like, Raw is already a hard enough sell. I don't know if this is any more interesting to me. Like, I think I'll take your word for it that it's a witness. That's where I stand. Yeah, I know what you mean about expectations versus reality. It's also really sad when it is like you're so excited about like, oh my god, this is real fucked up, and then you go in and it's like, oh, the second half is a family drama.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's like Mandy is the one that bit me the hardest, because like that first trailer came out and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be the greatest movie of all time, and then unfortunately it was only a very good movie.
Yeah, like I actually agree with you. I think to me Mandy's like a little overrated, maybe because they just didn't have the budget for it, but like VFW for me, that was the one that like I was so looking forward to it, because Austin was like, dude, this movie is right up your alley, Matt. You're gonna love it. And I was watching it and I was like, I think I would love it if it was directed by someone else. Yeah, that's a shame. But it's also French, so it's right. French,
yep.
Belgium.
French Belgian.
Yeah. Not Australian, like the other fucked up movies. Although those are fucked up in a different way.
They're fucked up because they're depressing.
Yeah.
French movies are fucked up because they're completely depraved.
Yep. And then New Zealand movies are fucked up because they're fucking hilarious, like Bad Taste. Have you watched anything else of note? You said you were watching a lot of movies.
Yeah, well, I should say I was rewatching a lot of movies because I rewatched Bronson recently.
Oh, nice. Is it streaming anywhere or do you just own it?
I just rented it.
Okay.
Rewatched McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which was kind of disappointing.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like Robert Altman's movies?
This is the only one I've seen.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I think this one's I
think I'm probably like in the minority. I think they're just okay. Like I've tried I think I told you I tried watching Gosford Park because I really liked Downton Abbey.
Oh,
it was written by
yeah.
the same guy. I could not get through, like I was falling asleep in Gosford Park. I thought MASH was just okay. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I just don't understand what people love about Robert Altman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And then I started watching Midnight Mass recently. So I'm like 4 episodes in, I want to say.
We should do an episode about it.
I'd be down for that.
I started watching 1 episode. Maybe we'll do that as like one of our next episodes. I was going to see if you wanted to do like a Cowboy Bebop episode, but about the animated show, not the Netflix live action show. Because
That I would also be down for, but I need to watch.
Yeah.
I need to finish Midnight Mass before I start anything else.
Okay, we'll put the listeners are like, oh my god, the behind the scenes, like, yeah. So I'm down. I think a Midnight Mass episode might be good if we can't.
Okay.
There's a couple of other movies that are coming out that I want to see, but I don't know if you'd be interested. Like Belfast, I'm kind of interested, kind of not. Just because, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I would need 2 Scooby snacks to do that one. I mean, it seems fine. It's just like it doesn't really scream at me like this is something I have to watch.
Yeah, I feel like it's more just because it's Kenneth Branagh, and I'm like, I'm invested at this point. I watched Artemis Fowl and hated myself afterwards.
Oh.
I'm invested in Kenneth Branagh.
Good
Not
for
necessarily,
you.
yeah, not necessarily a great place to be, but anything else you want to talk about? Anything of note?
No, that's pretty much it.
You know what so when I was on the plane and prior to the plane, I knocked out a couple. Have you seen The Wind Rises, the Hayao Miyazaki movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you feel about Hayao Miyazaki as a filmmaker?
I think he's great.
The default answer. Did you like The Wind Rises?
I did. I thought the ending was too protracted, but I like the rest of the movie.
I really love the first hour of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of when they're talking about like creating the engines and solving the problems, and John Krasinski's character's like obsession with like Japan's stuck in the past. And I'm like, man, that sounds familiar. I feel like it's like a universal thing amongst cultures where they're always like chasing the tail or whatever, chasing the dragon.
Yep.
Right now I'm at the part where because I was watching it on the plane, and I'm at the part where he finally meets like the girl that he is going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finding out all of that stuff, but they also have like the really like awkward what's his name, the director, the German director who's doing the voice
Werner
of one of the
Herzog.
guys. Yeah, Werner Herzog, and he's like German tobacco, blah blah blah. Like that scene, it just comes off as like that whole sequence just comes off as so weird. When I saw the movie in theaters, my friend and we just kept laughing because all the close-ups of him with like he has got like the eyelashes and the giant nose, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And he's like huge, eating all of this like all these vegetables. But like that's the part of the movie where like it it loses me. I'm like, okay, I need to get through this. Like the whole him falling in love with this girl. We need to speed this up. Like, let's get back to the plane design. That's the fun stuff. But like with that,
so you haven't finished it.
I've watched the whole thing before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what happens. I know they get married and then she has, what is it, tuberculosis?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Consumption, as they say.
I'm just mixing it up with Red Dead 2 because I'm like getting close to the end of that game.
Well, everyone died of tuberculosis back then. James Joyce, Arthur Morgan, the chick from Wind Rises.
But didn't they have by the time The Wind Rises happened, didn't they already figure out the cure for it? Like
I don't know, man. FDR still had polio, so.
Well, yeah, but I think the cure for tuberculosis came about when they discovered penicillin, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I know that she comes back and she's like, I'm going to sacrifice myself so that we can make Japanese warplanes that will never come back. And when I was showing it to my wife, she was like, does his wife die? And I'm like, no, she goes back and she's fine. And then we're watching it. And he gets the letter that she died. And I was like, how did I miss this? How did I forget this happened? So yeah, that was interesting. But I feel like The Wind Rises is one of the easier Miyazaki films to watch just because like it moves. And then I got to the courting part and I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. For where like it's up there. Like Princess Mononoke has been my favorite for a long time. Spirited Away I really like. Kiki's Delivery Service is great. But The Wind Rises is probably within the top 3 just because I've gone back to it so many times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like surprisingly, because I know on release a lot of people were like, it's okay. It's not his best.
I mean, all his movies are very, very good at worst, so that's tough. Yeah. But I mean, I really like The Wind Rises. I think my biggest issue with it is I think it could have ended earlier, because when there's a scene where they finally have proof of concept for the plane. It takes off. And he looks down this field they're testing the plane on, and like the wind rises for lack of a better word. And that's like the moment that she's died. Mm-hmm. Like they could have just ended it there and like had a little like inner title at the end saying like, a Joe plane designer went on to blah, 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 blah. His wife died in blah, 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 blah. He never remarried or whatever, I don't know. But like you could have ended it right there and just had an inner title. And I think that would have been better than what they had.
Where it cuts back to him talking with Caproni one more time.
Yeah. And then like it has this really bizarre like dream ending where it's like, she's like, like you go live your life and stuff or whatever. Haha, we're flying magic planes in the sky. And I just thought that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I think I would have cut it off a little sooner. Yeah, it was a little like the Gladiator problem, where it's like the movie should have ended when Maximus was reunited with his family, and like not cut back to the real world where there's all like more shit to go through.
Yeah, the Children of Men approach, where it's just like the end of Children of Men is literally like Clive Owen dies. Spoilers. And then it's like, that's the end of the movie. He succeeded. He died. We're good.
Yeah, he's just like, look at what I make you give. And then that's it.
With no shoes. That's the biggest problem with that movie is just like he doesn't have shoes throughout the entire movie. And I'm like, God damn it, his feet. It's the same problem with Die Hard. That's what holds Die Hard back from being the best movie ever is he doesn't wear shoes.
Dude, Bronson's got some dirty ass feet. Tom Hardy. They're nasty.
Did Tom Hardy already have the problem with his pinky during that movie?
I don't know.
Okay,
He's able to make a closed fist with both hands, so I don't know what the pinky problem is, but
I think he cut like a tendon in it, so he can close his fists, but he can't open his hand all the way, like his right hand, or it's either one of his hands, the pinky like doesn't flex all the way. So like it's if you notice it, it's really distracting, and it's really distracting in Peaky Blinders.
That's interesting. My parents have suddenly become big Peaky Blinders fans.
Oh, really? I wonder if everyone is, because everyone saw Spencer and we're like, I need to watch more of stuff written by Stephen Knight. I heard Spencer was not very good.
I don't know. Is that the Dave Bautista detective thing?
No. No, Spencer is Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think of Spencer Confidential?
That with Mark Wahlberg.
Is that Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg.
Jeez
and what's his name?
I'm getting all
Winston...
this shit mixed up.
No, not Winston Duke. Is it? Yeah, I think it is Winston Duke. I know this is the most important thing. Yeah, Winston Duke, which is the only reason I want to see Spencer Confidential is for Winston Duke, because he was great in Us. I loved him in Us, and in Black Panther, but mainly Us. But yeah, I know what you mean about The Wind Rises, and like it would have been nice if it just ended at the love story, but like because there's a definite shift in the movie from his history making planes to his family life being important to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing with that scene I was describing is it is the conclusion to both the love story and the plane story. The A and B plots are both resolved right then and there. So it's like, why continue the movie any further?
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is like Hayao Miyazaki wants to get on his soapbox and talk about how like all of this stuff he created because of his passion of it, and none of it came back to him. It all ended in destruction. All of his dreams of making beautiful things that fly ended in destruction, death, chaos, and how do you rationalize and justify it in that life? And then he's Hayao Miyazaki, so he has to come up with a happy ending at the end. Because like even though his outlook on life is very depressing and dark, he believes all movies should end with a happy ending. Which
that's true.
I appreciate. As you barrel down towards the end of Princess Mononoke and you're like, how does this end happily? And then they're like, oh,
someone gets a hand job, don't worry. There will be a happy ending.
There will be a happy ending at the end. Even though the town is destroyed and the forest is destroyed and the gods are dead and Ashitaka's hand's fine. It's all good. We're good. Everything is fine.
His hand is fine.
There you go. The great forest spirit who got his freaking head blown off 5 minutes ago is like, no, people are good actually. It's like, are they though? Like, really? Are they? In the macro sense? Anyway. So where can they find us and do all of the fun internet-y stuff for us?
Podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify? Maybe not Spotify. I don't know about that one. I'm speaking out of turn on that. We subscribe, leave a comment, positive review, tell your friends, all that good shit. Underthewheels.com is our website where you can read my review of The French Dispatch as well as reviews of other kinds of shit. I'm working on a review of Deathloop right now, which is maybe the game of the year. And video at underthewheels.com is our email if you want to email us, I don't know, questions, words of wisdom, support, a funny picture of a cat. I don't know.
Leave us a rating too. Go on Apple Podcasts and please leave us a rating and a review. We like all, well, I don't know if we like all that stuff, but it shows engagement. Or go on the YouTube channels and write a review, leave a rating, give us a thumbs up. Tell us how Gabe is wrong about Harley Quinn Birds of Prey not being a decent or good movie. I watched that again lately too, and I was like, yeah, this is better than I remember. This is fun. This wasn't that bad. It's only an hour and 45 minutes too. It's tight. And Ewan McGregor playing a gay-coded character is really entertaining. It's really funny. Maybe a little bit offensive, but it's all good. You get it, Victor Zaz. You get it. Anything else?
That's it for me.
That's it for me. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Gabe.
And you've just been Under the Wheels. I keep hearing a. I'm like, what the
Oh,
hell?
I'm clicking a pen.
Oh, okay. I was just like, what the heck is that? Which, I mean, I understand because All right, I was just putting a final timestamp. I understand because I'm constantly fidgeting with things on my desk.
Yeah, I'm a chronic fidgeter.
I know. Half the time I feel like I should be standing when we do these because, like, then I can at least be like, all right, I can rock back and forth. But it's neither here nor there. Oh, did you? So apparently, as an aside, apparently the Last Duel is coming to Disney Plus.
I know. I saw that on. I think you posted that on
I
Facebook.
posted it. I'm so baffled by it. I don't get it.
Dude, nothing says Disney quite like sexual assault. Am I right?
I know, and like freaking, I guess because Adam Driver's in it. Here, dude. It makes me confident that eventually they'll release Kingdom of Heaven on Disney Plus.
Oh, now that would be something.
So all of the like religious extremists can get super pissed because it takes such a neutral stance and it just hates all religious extremists. Like, no, it's the anti-Muslim movie. No, it's the anti-Christian movie. It's like, no. He just hates extremists. Like,
What's also hilarious is Ridley Scott blamed millennials for the poor box office performance of The Last Duel. And I'm like, the only people I know of who've seen this movie are millennials. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Ridley Scott.
Finished.